sometimes the thing that is the worst for you ends up being the best for you. For instance, I feel like my toxic marriage was the best thing that's ever happened to me. When I say my toxic marriage, I mean, to be honest, I was toxic too. So I ended up getting married when I was 22 years old. Biggest mistake of my life. So I married my first husband when I was 22 years old. That's too young to be doing anything, to be honest. Like, it already sucks that you have to have your college life figured out between the ages of 18 and 21. Like, a lot of people don't know exactly what they want to do yet. So it's hard to have that figured out. So what I did, I thought it was a bright idea to get married on top of that at 22. But I will say, the reason why I got married when I was 22, of course I was in love. But has anybody ever had a situation where something seemed scary to do until someone else did it? Or normally something you would have been like, oh no, I'm never getting married in Vegas, or I'm never getting married when I'm this young, blah, 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 blah. There are lots of things that you go through in life that once someone near and dear to you or close to you does it, it's not such a big deal. So what had happened was my best friend got married. That's, to me, one of the reasons why I was like, oh, it's not a big deal, to get married when you're 22. Now, fast forward, it's a terrible idea. But I personally feel like it changed my life because before, I would say, growing up, I was a good kid. Like, I was a good teenager. I didn't get into a lot of trouble. I didn't do a lot of things I shouldn't have been doing. Yeah, I had me a little boyfriend, but I didn't do a lot of the things I was hearing other people were doing, like drinking, partying, having sex, this, that, and the third. So when I got to college, I still wasn't doing all of that. Still had me some boyfriends, but I wasn't doing all of that. So in turn, and to have a self-righteous, arrogant attitude, and I didn't know I had that until my mom pointed it out. But the thing is, having that type of attitude, being self-righteous, being arrogant, being snobby, that can only get you to a certain point before it leads to destruction. And I feel like that led to the demise that I had, or that led to the destructive behavior where I met a gentleman who I ended up marrying in my first marriage, who I felt like I didn't do no wrong. I felt like I didn't break the rules. I wasn't doing this. I wasn't doing that. But when I tell you, he had myself wide open. Like, he had my nose like open, wide open. So everything that I said I wasn't supposed to do, or I knew I wasn't doing, I ended up doing. One thing that I used to always talk to my mom about, which when she put me in my place, was I was like, you think it's the Lord or God or things like that that's stopping me from drinking and smoking and having sex and da-da-da. It ain't the Lord, it's me. Why did I say that? Why did I say that? That pretty much, that was an invitation for disaster, if you ask me. Okay. But like I said in the beginning, the toxic marriage and this bad marriage was the best thing that ever happened to me. Okay. So let me tell you, because I feel like God humbled me really quickly when it came down to being in this relationship. When I say toxic, I mean we fought. He didn't work. I worked. A lot of things happen, you guys, that people have went through probably, getting pregnant, having a baby, still fighting while we were having a baby, like pregnant, still fighting, still arguing, so much terrible things happened during that time. Like I remember one time we was fighting and he had torn his ACL and he chased me down the steps with this broken ACL or torn ACL with crutches, and it just was a mess, y'all. And one instance happened, we called the police on one another. I called the police on him. So again, toxic marriage. So I was sitting in jail because we was putting our hands on one another, and the police saw it. Police didn't see him do anything, but dumb me, dumb self-righteous me, dumb arrogant, can't nothing wrong happen to me because I know what I'm doing, pushed him in front of the police. That police officer said, oh, you going to jail too. I was like, I cried the whole 3 hours I was up in there. I cried the whole 3 hours, y'all. It was no fun at all. That marriage was like a match made in stupidity. Like, I'm not saying he was stupid. I'm not saying I was stupid, but I'm saying we was stupid. Like, we really were. And it was a toxic situation. So I ended up having my child. Of course, you know, a lot of people have a change of heart and a change of thought process once they have a baby. And of course, that happened to me. But again, like I was saying, the toxic marriage and this situation that I went through, it changed my life for the better. Not because I had my son. Like, of course, having my son was great and everything. But there's a lot of stuff that went on during the time I was married in this situation, and let me tell you some of the things. So one of the things that came out of that marriage was my son. He's 14 years old now, but considering how tumultuous that marriage was, and considering how jacked up and how toxic, like, I'm so grateful to God that my son, who is now 14, he act like he Jesus' son. Like, he is very sweet and nice and kind, and I know it was a gift from the Lord. That's one of the positive things that came out of that toxic marriage. So the other thing that came out of that toxic marriage, so let me tell y'all, okay, let me get the timeline for y'all. So while we were in this marriage, right, as soon as I started school. Like, I wanted to continue my education. I wanted to get me a diploma, and it was in accounting because I really enjoyed accounting, okay? So I went to school. It was an on-site school. It was a school called Hickey College, which I don't even know if it still exists. But it was me just trying to make sure I did something with my life, you know. I went to Hickey College. I enrolled in the accounting diploma program in March, okay? Class maybe had started, like, I think I maybe did a month of classes and then found out I was pregnant, okay? At the time, of course, I was happy to be pregnant. I was happy to be pregnant or whatever. So I did a month of classes, but I was already working full time too. So mind you, I was going to school in the morning from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Then I had to go to work. And my job, and I had strategically, like, planned this out because my job that I had was across the street from the school. Okay, so it was like, man, I couldn't have asked for a better setup. So job started at 3 o'clock. Now, mind you, I'm in school from 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock. Job started at 3 o'clock, and it got out at 11:30, okay? That was my routine, okay? So because that was my routine, I was like, I'm not going to be able to do that. So I need to unenroll from the school, right? So I didn't go to school for like a week. And I mean, I guess I was having morning sickness and stuff. I don't quite remember. I didn't go for a week. And this was like right after I found out I was pregnant. I like took a week off and got a message from the teachers and the dean and was like, what's going on? And I was like, I had to drop out. I have to drop out because I'm pregnant, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, well, your professor said you're one of the best students. And, you're the one that's getting all the A's and da-da-da-da. And you're doing such a good job. And I was like, okay, like, I'll try to stay in it then. That was the best thing I could have ever done because it's not that I used the accounting diploma. I've never used the accounting diploma, but I know accounting, to a certain extent. But I went to school from April all the way until October and got this diploma. And I went to school throughout the whole pregnancy. So for the entire pregnancy, this was before remote work was even thought of, okay? I went to school from 8 a.m. to 2, sat down, ate me a little lunch or whatever, and went to work from 3 to 11:30. And me personally, I know it was God who was looking out for me because when I graduated with my diploma, I graduated with my diploma on October 27th, and I had my son on November the 2nd. So I had my son no more than 3 or 4 days later. But throughout that whole time, throughout them whole 8-9 months, I was going to school, going to work, throughout the whole pregnancy. The biggest takeaway from that is, girl, you good. Like you a tough cookie. Like you can handle some stuff. Like that made me realize that, wow, okay, like I can do some things. And it was good that happened because after that happened, me and the current husband split up and I had to move back home with my mom and dad. And if anybody is familiar with how that type of stuff works, it's not always comfortable. You might not have your room no more. I didn't have my room. I slept in my mom and daddy closet with my baby. Now, mind you, the closet wasn't tiny. But that's where we had to sleep because that's where we got the peace and quiet. All the other rooms were taken. At the time, my grandma lived there. My sisters lived there. I think my brother lived there. I think that everybody was still living there because we were just in our early 20s trying to figure things out. And the way we were raised, we didn't like hurry up and go get apartments or whatever. But yeah, it was quite a learning experience. So don't let your situation that you're in, or don't let your past dictate what you think that your future is going to be about. Because since then, I've met an incredible second husband. Now, have I been an incredible second wife? No. But am I learning to be? Yes. Like, this is all a learning process. My son, I have 2 sons now. Like, life has gotten a lot better. But that toxic marriage, if I had not been in that first marriage, a lot of this new person who I became wouldn't have happened. Like, I wouldn't have been able to reflect and know what I messed up in the situation. Even though, we was just tripping. Like, I played a part in the tripping. I was calling him all the names in the book. A different kind of dude might have, walked away from me. But, he didn't walk away. He should have walked away out of all the names I called him. But at the same time, I shouldn't have been talking to him like that. I shouldn't have been. You don't treat nobody like that. Okay? So, if anybody disagrees with that, that's your perspective, that's your prerogative, and I get it. But for me personally, I am a firm believer in you reap what you sow. I'm a firm believer in, you put out goodness will come back to you. So if you're in a situation where you are in a toxic marriage, or you feel like you are in a toxic situation, toxic relationship, just know, you have to decide when enough is enough, that you can come out of it. And then 2, there is light after that. Like, there's plenty of light after. You just have to be determined enough. You just have to have, a support system. I'm not going to say you can do it alone, because I don't think you can. I don't think that, there's some help that's going to be needed. At some point on this earth, you're going to need some type of help. So I just wanted to share my story with you guys. If you like it, just give me a like. If you'd like to subscribe to hear more, just let me know.